everyone, the lovely people at PantoArchive.com have asked me a few questions about pantomime, so I'm going to do my best to answer them for you. Here's the first one. Interesting. Well, I don't think I'd ever be a dame. At least that's not the way I feel now, because it's such a specific skill. And I don't really have those attributes, nor the desire to do it either, when it's done so brilliantly by people like, Les Dawson was awesome as a dame, but did it in his own way. I've worked with some fantastic dames. Brian Burden, in my early days of doing the big theatres, just brilliant, learned a lot from Brian. Mr. Eric Potts, writer and dame extraordinaire, brilliant, great delivery. And the interesting thing about working with different dames, because they do it in their own way, it's a different gig working alongside them. Nigel Ellicott, just fantastic, a brilliant dame. And again, different style, but quite unique, Nigel. Mr. Adrian Varco, the sequined comedian from Bristol. I toured Panto in the early days, and he was, for a few Pantos, he was my mother, so the dame of the Panto, and brilliant, especially with a wonderful Bristolian accent. But I learned a lot from him. Completely unique. Again, all these guys, I say this thing about it's a specific skill, and I haven't got the attributes for that. But all these wonderful dames are all completely different, the ones I've worked with. But I think the most important thing about being a dame is wanting to be there in the dress and to take on that persona. And that's not quite for me at the moment. Baddie now, that might interest me a bit more, particularly in Panto. Obviously, the baddie always has a laugh or two, but is never loved the same way a comedian or a dame is. But maybe one day a baddie might interest me if I could be playful with him. Yeah, I wouldn't rule that one out completely. Dame, no, I don't think so, particularly with all the brilliant dames out there at the moment. And the ones over the years, the fantastic John Inman and Jack Tripp and all that. It's a wonderful tradition, and long may it continue. Playful baddie? Yeah, maybe, one day. So, who would I like to work with, living or dead? Well, I've worked with some fantastic people, but the person I'd really, I think, most of all, love to work with, if I ever had that chance, was this guy here, Eric Morecambe. And I know he was in a comedy duo, and it's not right to separate them, but in my mind, he's the guy I'd like to bounce off in Panto. He's very clever, he's very warm, he's very mischievous. And I know the ad-libs are all well rehearsed and stuff, but I think it would have been real fun just, if I was where I am now with the experience that I've had and working alongside Eric Morecambe in his heyday, I think that would be me in heaven, actually. I'd have loved that opportunity. But I've worked with so many wonderful people. I mean, the brilliant Henry Winkler, who was the Fonz, obviously, in Happy Days. What a great guy. And really knew his comedy. Didn't know the concept of pantomime so much, but knew his comedy and his strengths. And he was just wonderful to work alongside. I was a bit in awe of him, first of all, to be honest. But he was a joy and welcoming. And in the end, we ended up best friends. A great guy. Same with David Hasselhoff, a lovely guy. Again, different attributes to work with, but generous. And of course, the fantastic Barbara Windsor. There's so many here. Warwick Davis, just great. Steve McFadden, a real joy. So many wonderful people I've worked with. And but of all time, living or dead, I think it would have to be Eric Morecambe. Well, strange times indeed. I believe most pantos are being pushed back a year, and I've been told that that's what's happening to me panto-wise, being pushed back a year. Can't say where it is yet, but it's where it would have been this year and where it's going to be next year. And I'm really looking forward to playing at this particular venue. In the meantime, I've been doing, during the lockdown, I've been doing live comedy stand-up shows, solo shows on Facebook. I've been putting together variety shows which I put out on social media. Lots of wonderful acts have given me videos of themselves performing, some in their home, some on stage. You know, I've kept myself busy. I love my video editing anyway, but I like to keep myself busy, so I feel that during this lockdown, I haven't actually stopped creating, which is important. I'm open now, and when you watch this will depend on what the latest government news is. As I'm speaking to you now, I'm hoping that, you know, even at reduced capacity, theatres might be able to open and I can do some live performances. So yeah, it's been a strange little time, but I've been creating monologues for my variety shows, and I did 10 stand-up shows on Facebook, about 35 minutes, and I did 10 weeks, and so, I don't know, over 5 hours of comedy, never repeated a gag, so that was good. That gave me something to get up, you know. The challenge every week was something different, and I'd work during the week on the script and stuff, so that was good, because, you know, what else are you going to do? If I just sit round and go stir crazy, I want to get out there. That's the next stage. Whether it's reduced capacity or not, I don't mind. I just want to see some people and stand on the stage and get that reaction back from you guys. Now, this is a bit of a naughty question. Obviously, yes. Can't really mention, a couple actually, can't mention, but, you know, a male and a female. And I suppose it was just a general attitude that maybe it was just pick up the check thing, and maybe the ego didn't want interaction with other characters. Well, if that's the way you feel about stuff, to me, don't do Panto, because Panto's all about teamwork. It's all about everyone working together to produce a show that appeals to all ages, tells the story, and entertains people. And you've got to rely on the people around you. You've got to trust them, and you've got to hope they're good. And if they're good, that shouldn't be a negative in your mind. You know, it's not everyone trying to outshine each other. It's just we want to make the whole show shiny. And a couple of people, I think, were a little bit pick me. And that was a shame. I certainly won't mention who they are and whether they're still performing in Panto. No, no, no. My lips are sealed. I was having a lovely chat the other day with Panto legend Billy Pierce, who is just the loveliest of guys, and he also worked with Barbara Windsor and said how fantastic she was to work with. Well, I'm honoured that Barbara wanted to work with me, and I was working. Tell you what happened. I was doing some Des O'Connor shows on television, Des Mel or something. I've done quite a few of these, and I was working in Panto for Jim Davison's company at the time. I think it was Midas Productions or Sound or something. Anyway, Jim rang me up and said, do you want to work with Barbara Windsor in Nottingham at the Theatre Royal? And I went, yes. So he said she'd rung him and said she wanted the guy from Des O'Connor, Andy Ford, she wanted him as her Buttons in Cinderella at Nottingham Theatre Royal. Well, I was dancing around the house when I got that news. Anyway, that was the year Barbara wasn't very well, and she was unable to do Panto, and I was gutted, but via her husband, the message came back to me that if she ever gets a chance to do Panto again, it would be with me. Anyway, years down the line, I hear that I will be working with Barbara Windsor at the Bristol Hippodrome. I think it was 2010-11, that season. And I found out later, and Barbara told me herself, that she'd just come out of EastEnders and wanted to do pantomime, and two of the most important clauses she had in her contract, one was a brand new set that First Family would provide, and two, That was the production company. And 2, that Andy Ford was the comedian. I was on her contract. How exciting is that? And working with her, well, just a joy. Our dressing rooms were right next to each other in the Bristol Hippodrome. I was of the Randolph Suite. And she used to come into my dressing room pre-show, because we were both there early, because we're sort of older pros and, you know, don't like the rushing around. I like to get there plenty of time. Having said that, I always leave it fairly late to get changed, because I like the excitement of quick, a few minutes. I like that bit. But we got there early and just relax, a cup of tea, cup of coffee. And she used to come into my dressing room and sit on the sofa with me and tell me all about the Carry On films. What a bonus that was. Telling me about the characters, what they were like to work with. And it was just a joy. We'd sit there for what seemed like hours. I'm sure it wasn't. We would just sit there yapping away. And all this wonderful knowledge and experience she was imparting to me. And it was great. And we did the show, and it was a huge success. It was Dick Whittington at the Bristol Hippodrome. And I got to tell you this is how much she cares. She doesn't suffer fools, but she's the loveliest of ladies and just wants you to do well. And every night Eric Potts wrote the script, and every night there was a bit where I was caught in front of the cloth, supposedly by accident, and went into a stand-up routine. You know, no one else is on the stage, I'll keep going, that sort of thing. So I used to do this routine every night, and we did about 52 shows. Every night, if I look over stage right, in the wings was Barbara Windsor watching me. She watched every routine I did in that spot for 52 shows. And because she enjoyed watching me work, and, you know, she was keen that it went well, was listening to the audience reaction. And one night I came off stage and she said, "You changed the word in there, darling." Sounded a bit dim, didn't it? "Changed the word in there, darling." I said, "I did, actually, Barbara, yeah." She said, "Did you think it was funnier?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I think it worked pretty well." And she went, "All right." In other words, keep it the way it was. It was working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And she was just a joy to work with, and I love her so much. And that was the best experience ever in pantomime, because I was working with a hero who turned out to be even lovelier than I imagined. Well, thank you, Panto Archive, for your questions. Hopefully Panto will be back next year. I'm sure it will be. Vaccine and all that sort of thing permitting. And hopefully this year we'll be able to do something live in some theatres, even if it's reduced capacity. Just want to get back on a stage, actually. Oh, yes, I do. Very good. So thanks for the questions. Keep the dream of pantomime alive, everyone, and hopefully we'll be back bigger and better than ever next year. Thanks for your questions. See ya.